And you guys remember the Bronco too?
I
And
do.
yep, and she rushed Rachel to the hospital, and Sarah and I stayed behind, and we were thinking, oh no, Rachel's gonna have to have a cast when we go to when we fly to the family reunion in a few.
God is great, but sometimes life ain't good. And when I pray.
So first off, this video is intended for family members and anyone who's interested in our old stories. We personally find our stories fascinating, and you should too. Recently visited Rachel, had an amazing conversation with her. She has a lot of family members visiting her, and friends too, just coming to visit her.
So you had the idea that we would get together and talk about some memories that we have.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty great idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Please do tell when you're ready.
When Rachel and Sarah and I were kids, we were out at the ranch, and it was, oh boy, it was just before our family reunion where we went to Cincinnati, which was the first time I was ever on a plane. I think that was 1985. So it was probably the summer of 1985. So Sarah and I were 7, I guess. Rachel was probably 10. And we went out to there was an area of the ranch that was kind of like a junkyard. There was just random stuff. And there was a stock tank full of sand. And so we would play in the sandbox. Sarah and Rachel buried me. Sarah was with me. I was buried. Rachel went back to the house for some reason. I can't remember what it was. But she was riding a bike. And when she was coming back, I think that she had a cat in one hand and she was trying to ride, which, always going to work out well. And I don't know, but I'm guessing the cat, tried to jump out of her hand or something. She crashed and she broke her arm, and it was a bad break. It was a break. It was not just like a fracture. It was completely, from what I remember, her forearm was, went up like this and then it went like this. It was completely, she broke both bones, and she saw it and she was freaking out, of course, and screaming. And Sarah ran over there, started screaming too, and just, I don't know about screaming. They weren't hysterical, but they were upset, understandably. And I was buried. So it took me some time. I didn't know what was going on, but it took me some time to get out. So that was always funny that I forgot that I was buried. But anyway, I got out and I went over there, and yeah, this arm was broken. It was horrible. And so Sarah rushed to the house to get Adana, and I walked with Rachel back to the house, and she was crying and her arm was broken. Oh, well, there was just nothing I could do for her. And out, they got her in the Bronco 2. And you guys remember the Bronco 2?
I
and yep. And she rushed Rachel to the hospital, and Sarah and I stayed behind, and we were thinking, oh no, Rachel's gonna have a cast when we fly to the family reunion in a few weeks. I think it was probably just like less than a month away that we'd all be flying to that family reunion. I think that if we're talking about Rachel, we have to talk about the fact that she loved to tease people and she was good at it. And I can relate. I did my share of teasing kids at school. And Rachel was brutal. Like she would definitely, I don't know any specific stories. I know that she would make kids in her class cry. But I do know that she enjoyed teasing Sarah and I. Anything you say, I remember one time, this was in Seattle. There's a place called Puget Sound, right?
Oh, Puget Sound, yeah.
Well, I was new to the area. God forbid, I called it Puget Bay. She did not let that slip. do not use the wrong word around Rachel. Do not, as Rachel got older, she really mellowed out. But when she was younger, man, she would not let a grammatical error slip, or the use of a wrong word. Oh man, she was on you, and you would not make that mistake again.
You're reminding me that one time I was talking to her, and I had just got a new cat, and I was trying to figure out what to name it, and I think I was kind of brainstorming, and I came up with Muffin, And she had teased me many times after that. Like nobody named a cat Muffin, and just really gave me a hard time about it.
One night I think
Yeah,
we rented,
sure.
we rented movies, you know, it was like back in the days of House of Movies, and you can just rent a couple of movies, and it was, you know, different times. Maybe even we were renting the machines as well. I don't know. But what we got was I got Heavy Metal because I thought that was really cool. And then she got Pretty Woman.
Oh,
As we were watching Heavy Metal, the cat had used the litter box and it just stunk up the whole place. And she was saying that I was saying, oh, the cat crap smells so horrible, I can't get into it or something like that. She teased me about it. And then we had to suffer through watching Pretty Woman, which wasn't a great movie. And I complained the whole time. But she really liked Pretty Woman.
Yes, she did. She did. And in Rachel's defense, I mean, all women of that generation, that's like the favorite movie.
so it's interesting because when you came up with the idea, so then, you know, I start brainstorming, and I have so many kind of non-specific memories of having Rachel and Sarah around, and family gatherings and stuff. But I think I was just a bit older, and there wasn't I wasn't around for a lot of the, you know, broken arm kind of things. But later on, when Rachel moved to Seattle, and then I happened to move up to Seattle as well, we spent time together, and I stayed with her for a while. And I have very fond memories of that time. I met some of her friends, and she had this tiny apartment. I don't even remember where it was, but I stayed there for a while, and it was funny because she had just gotten a job at Starbucks, and so she would get up early and make her shift, and it seemed like she always would choose that early morning hour to unload the dishwasher or to do dishes, and it sounded like about for 45 minutes of like stacking dishes and then deciding, no, I think I want the gray ones on the bottom, and so then she would kind of. And I was just laying there on the couch, like, how long does it take to rearrange these dishes and get things put away? And I teased her about that, but she didn't seem at all.
The funny thing about that is it was probably like 9:30, you know, as late as Adam stays up.
Exactly. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think you should do anything with the dishes until after lunch, you know.
Okay, so when we were younger and I would go visit at the ranch, I have very fond memories of visiting in the wintertime. And Rachel was very focused, and she would always remember them. And one of those things was I remember several times at the ranch and it snows, and she wanted to go outside with a bottle of maple syrup and spoons. And Sarah and I would go outside, we'd sit in the snow, and we'd put maple syrup on the snow and eat it with a spoon. And Rachel loved to do that. And it was actually very tasty, but Rachel loved to do that. It was fun.
That's really cool. About the teasing that Rachel was so good at is we had just, I guess Mom and Donna had taken us to a ballet, and they had a bunch of dudes down there in the ballet thing, and I was just irritated by it, and just like, why do we want to watch this, you know, TV? And so then on the way home, Rachel was just saying those men have such great bodies and this and that. And I was saying that, okay, but they crunch up their butts all the time. It just looks funny. They have their buns crunched up, and I don't know why they stand that way, you know. And then so we were about to drop her off, and just as she got out of the car, she said, "Thanks for being jealous of them," or something like that. Yeah, she was a fighter.
That jealousy continues to this day.
Yeah, Rachel and Carrie always make fun of us about it. They took us to some body of water near Austin when we went to visit them years ago, I guess. I don't know. Claire was probably 8. And we did a canoe ride for whatever reason. In a canoe, all the power should be in the back, and they had me in the front, and things weren't working out well at all. And Connie and I started arguing, and I was just furious because she was she was like trying to micromanage me, and she made me mad. And then eventually we switched me to the back, and things were working out a lot better. And then, but for every time I see Carrie, he said, "Oh, you made my day. I was so happy watching you guys fight. It was hilarious."
I do remember that, you know, when she was starting to go through chemo, I was up in Seattle visiting once, and we were driving. I think Adam was driving. And, you know, she was just always so controlled with what her body was doing. And so she was just very calmly, "Adam, can you pull over, please?" So Adam pulled over. She just got out. She went behind a bush. She threw up, got back in the car. "Okay, I'm ready." And I mean, she was already at that stage. I mean, she was probably 23 at the time, but already at that stage, she was like, she knew the ropes, and she knew she had to deal with it, and she did.
Yeah, she didn't complain at all.
Never has.
And it was so, her tone of voice was not urgent. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I've got plenty of time to. And then I thought about it. Wait a minute. Why she asked me to pull over? I better do it quick.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would just be like, "Stop the car."
I remember during that time, when I was around the time I was staying with her, David came up, and it was good to see him. I hadn't seen him for a while, and he came up because it was his birthday, and he was 50. And at the time, I was
Oh.
like, wow, you know, like he's looking pretty good. He's walking without a limp, or you know, he seems okay, like for an old man. And I just am so amused by that now, because I think Rachel was about 22 at the time, and I was under 30, and I just thought, 50, wow. And we went out to eat, the three of us, and had a really nice time. It was just so weird to see David Cruz in Seattle. I remember that.
That's weird.
Yeah, that does seem weird.
Come on, David, let's go get sushi.
Yeah, but he seemed he didn't seem out of place. He didn't seem like, oh, what are all these lights and cars? And